if I were to take this and look at it and say, well, you got a $50 signing bonus to, to be this babysitter, right? You get $50 a month for gas, okay? And then you get paid $10 per hour, all right? What would a table look like for that? If X is the number of hours that you work and Y is your overall pay. It's the first of the month. If I don't work any hours, how much money do I still have in my pocket? 50. Not bad. As soon as I work my first hour, how much money do I have now?
60.
An additional 10, so I have 60, right? So then after I work my second hour, I get 70, and I really shouldn't have to do too many more than this for you to catch on, right? So this is the hardest part, is coming up with the equation from the table when it's got something both added to the beginning or multiplied. So first thing I want you to do is write this. So you remember y equals mx plus b, right? Okay, this is just a quick little preview. We're gonna see this in more depth later. But y equals mx plus b, and m was your rate of change, right? This is just a quick little. We'll do this more later, but m is your rate of change. What's my change? My money changing by? It's changing by 10, right? But watch. It's changing by delta y over delta x, right? How much is this going up by? 10 for every what that I make? For every 1 hour that I work. So 10 over 1 is 10, okay? That number always goes right in front of that, okay? B, that's where you begin. We're going to call this later in Unit 5 the y-intercept. This is the starting value. Okay, we're not even close to that yet. What was the starting value? 50. So if I were to write an equation from this information in the table, what would it be? How much are you making an hour? $10 an hour. And what did you begin at? 50. Got it? Okay. So flip this over real quick. And this one is almost similar, very similar to that. What is my beginning value? 50. And all of these y values are equal to, what is my rate of change this time? It's going up by 5 for every 1. So that's going to be 5x, okay? What would the next one be? What is my beginning value? That goes at the end, right? So I have a $25 beginning value. And what's this going up by? Plus 6. Now be careful, because in a minute, something's going to change. How many? It's going up 6 for every 1 hour that I work. So when this goes up by 1s, you're good. This number just goes there, all right? Okay, how about this one? This one's a little tricky. Why is it a little tricky? What's it missing? The 0. So I can't start with that yet, but you know what? Let's do my rate of change. What is this going up by? Okay, are we good on this? So this is going up by 14 for every 1. So as long as it's going up 1, I can write this, right? I have to go hunting for my original value. I don't see it right now. So if I'm moving from left to right going up by 14, how do I find my 0? I just go, I subtract 14, right? Kind of a little bit of common sense. Whoops, not 12, but 2. So when I went backwards 14 from 16, I landed at what? 2. So now what's my beginning value? So sometimes it's not there. All right, tricky one. Be careful. Do I know my beginning value in this one? Yes. It's plus 15. So I know my y is equal to something plus 15. Be careful. What is this going up by? Oh, so I'm making $20? But am I making $20 an hour? I'm making $20 for every 2 hours that I work. And so if this is the change in y divided by the change in x, my change in y is 20 and my change in x is 2, that's 10. Okay? On the last one, both things happen. It's not going up by ones and your starting value is not there. Do you want to try that one? Go ahead and try that one. Okay, how do you get your y or your beginning value? Jordan, go ahead. Oh, you got it? So you're just going to go, how many to get back to 0? And then you go backwards by what here? It's not going to be 16. It's going to give you what? You're going to go backwards 8, and going backwards 8 from 42 gives you what? 34. Plus 34. Okay, so that's not bad, right? Okay, now can we take this and go back to the problem in the book that was right here? Now can we apply that same thinking? Do I know my beginning value? Yeah, it's super simple. It's right there. So I know I'm starting out at plus 5. What is, now be careful because sometimes your rate of changes can go down. What is my rate of change? Down 1. And what is my rate of change in my x? Up 1. If you are confused about what's going to go in front of your x, put your change in y over your change in x. And what is a negative 1 divided by a positive 1? That's your equation. Got it? Okay, so let's try that for the next one. Oh, and by the way, after you figure out what your points are, it's going to ask you to list the domain and list the range, just like there. So here they have it as 5 minus x, which is the same thing as your negative x plus 5. All right, let's try this one. Pull out your points. And I'm not sure why they included that one. I don't really like it, but we'll talk about that in a second. So pull this out here. You have your x and your y. This point is what? 1 comma 10. Or just 110. This one is 2, 15. You also have a 3, 10, and a 3, 20. And we're going to talk about that for a second. Let's talk about this one. Do you know what's called an outlier? Does this fit the rest of the data here? No. Is this a function? No, it's not a function. So what they're asking, and I don't really like this because you can only really give me a rule for these 4 points. This one we're just going to kind of ignore. It doesn't fit the trend. So we can just kind of pretend like this point doesn't fit right there for right now. So let's use our rule. This is going up 5 for every 1. As soon as it's going up 1, you're good because that is your rate of change then. So y is equal to 5x. And where did I start? You can tell this in 2 ways. You could either go back to 0, and if I went back 1, I would have to go back how many here? 5 to get to 5, right? Plus 5. Or could you tell by the graph? Could I just keep going? And wouldn't I be at 0, 5 there? Okay. So are you good on how to write the equation from the thing there? Okay. So then we are going to look at the guitar sales. This graph over here shows guitar sales in millions from a chain of music stores from these years. Identify the independent and the dependent variable. Independent is the x-axis. Dependent is your y. All right. How would you describe the sales? What's happening with these sales here? Is it continuing at looks like a kind of a constant rate, but you may not be able to know that unless you were to go ahead and create your table of values and go from there. Oh, this is just analyzing. It's not even asking you to write it. So if I were to have you look at this little concept summary, I love it. It's perfect. There's 4 different ways to represent a function, and then we are done. You could say it as a rule. I want you to read that. That sounds familiar, doesn't that? The output is 1 less than twice the input. Does that make sense now from unit test 2? The output, which is y, is 1 less than twice the input. Verbal equation, take this, make it a table, take these, make it a graph. All of these are the same, okay? So the next thing we're talking about is functions with tables, equations, and graphs. Those 3 things I need you to know. All right, so you're going to open up your book.